The first time I saw the recipe book, it was sitting on the hood of my county truck with a dead woman's grocery list tucked inside, and my name written beside the word salt. That happened in 2007 when I was 59 years old and working my last season as a park ranger at Lake Merrill State Park in northern Michigan. I had spent most of my adult life explaining rules to campers who believed rules were suggestions. Do not feed raccoons. Do not swim after dark. Do not park your boat trailer in the fire lane. Nothing in that job prepared me for being accused, quietly and politely, by a spiral-bound church cookbook. The book was called Our Best Tables, printed by the Women's Auxiliary of a Lutheran church in Petoskey sometime in the 70s. Plastic comb binding, grease stains, notes in the margins, the kind of book every cabin kitchen seemed to have. I found it at dawn in the employee lot. On the inside cover someone had written, "Ranger Cole knows where the salt went." My name is Everett Cole. I stood there with my coffee going cold and read that sentence until mosquitoes found my wrists. The grocery list was folded between two recipes for potato soup, for items were checked off: flour, butter, apples, salt. At the bottom, in handwriting I did not recognize, were three words: Ask Hannah Marsh. Hannah Marsh had drowned in Lake Merrill 14 years earlier. Not mysteriously, not according to the file. She slipped from the fishing pier during a storm and went under before anyone could reach her. I had been the ranger who found her shoe. Hannah was 72 when she died, though she carried herself younger. She ran the little bait counter at Harker's Marina, sold night crawlers in wax cartons, and corrected tourists who called the lake pretty. "It is useful," she would say. "Pretty is extra." I liked her. Most people did. Hannah made coffee strong enough to hold a spoon upright and kept a ceramic bowl of peppermints beside the register. She remembered which campers wanted minnows and which ones pretended they knew how to fish. The night she drowned was ugly. Wind hard out of the west. Rain coming sideways. A sailboat had broken loose from a private dock, and I was out helping the deputy sheriff locate the owner when the call came over the radio. Woman missing near the North Pier. By the time we found Hannah, the lake had already taken the easy answers. One rubber shoe wedged between pier boards. Her raincoat floating near the reeds. A flashlight still on, shining underwater like a trapped star. Her body came up the next morning. Accidental drowning. That was the official end of it. 14 years later, I had her church cookbook on my truck. I took it to the ranger office and asked my seasonal assistant, Troy, if he had seen anyone in the lot. Troy was 24 and believed every problem could be solved with a search engine. Maybe somebody left it for lost and found. With my name inside, he leaned over the book. "Ranger Cole knows where the salt went," he read. That sounds like a clue in a board game. It sounds like a complaint. Who is Hannah Marsh? I looked toward the window, where the morning light sat flat on the lake. A woman I should probably remember better. Troy flipped through the pages. Somebody circled a recipe. He turned the book toward me. Pickled green tomatoes. In the margin, written in pencil, was a date from 2007 and one line. She took the jar to Cabin 5. Cabin 5 sat on the North Loop, set back among white pines with screened porch and a view of the boat launch. It had been rented every summer by the same family from Ohio, then renovated, then rented by strangers who left behind sunscreen, playing cards, and once a full set of dentures and a coffee mug. I checked the old cabin records in the storage closet. 2007 was current, but the note in the book had to refer to Hannah's last summer, 14 years before. Back then, Cabin 5 had been rented for 2 weeks by a man named Alan Pierce. That name put a stone in my stomach. Alan Pierce had come to Lake Merrill every June with his wife, Martha. They were quiet, neat campers. She painted watercolors on the porch. He fished badly, but with confidence. Hannah liked Martha. Everybody did. The summer Hannah died, Martha had not come. Alan told people she was visiting their daughter in Arizona. 2 months after Hannah drowned, Martha Pierce filed for divorce. I remembered that because Alan came into the ranger office drunk one afternoon, asking if we had seen a red tackle box he claimed Martha had stolen from his truck. Maybe she took it because it was hers, I said. He stared at me like I had said something unforgivable. That was all I knew, or all I thought I knew. The recipe book gave me another page. Under apple dumplings, someone had written, Martha hated cinnamon. Hannah used extra. That meant nothing until I found the park incident log from the week before Hannah died. Complaint from cabin 5. Strong odor from kitchen. Possible spoiled food. Ranger Cole advised tenant to dispose of jars. My signature sat at the bottom. I remembered the smell then. Vinegar, cinnamon, hot sugar, something sharp enough to catch in your throat. Alan had been standing outside the cabin with 2 glass jars on the picnic table. Old lady down at the marina keeps bringing food, he said. I told her I don't want it. Then throw it out. I told him. She keeps coming back. I had laughed. Now I wished I had not. I drove to Harker's Marina after lunch. It had changed owners twice since Hannah died, but the building still leaned toward the water like it was tired of standing. A woman named Paula ran it now. She had pink reading glasses and a voice that made every sentence sound like she had already judged you. Hannah Marsh, she said. My mother knew her. Why? I showed her the recipe book. Paula did not touch it. Where did you get that? Somebody left it on my truck. She looked toward the dock. My mother had one just like it. Half the women did. Do you know who would write this? Paula read the note about cabin 5 and made a small sound. What? Hannah used to bring jars to people, she said. Pickles, jam, tomatoes. She said food opened doors. Did she bring food to Alan Pierce? She brought it to Martha. Martha wasn't there that summer. Paula looked at me the way people do when they realize they know more than you. Martha was there. I felt my mouth go dry. No, Alan said she was in Arizona. Then Alan lied. Paula took a key from under the register and unlocked a drawer. Inside were old marina receipts bundled with rubber bands. My mother saved everything after Hannah died. She thought something was wrong. She found a receipt for boat fuel, dated 3 days before the drowning. Customer name, Martha Pierce, signed in a shaky hand. On the back, someone had written, bought gas for trip south. Said she was leaving before Alan woke up. I drove back to the park with that receipt lying on the passenger seat. For 14 years, I had believed Hannah drowned during a storm because she had gone too close to the pier. Now, I wondered whether she had gone there to meet a woman trying to leave her husband. Martha Pierce was not in Arizona. Troy found that first, then pretended he had not been proud of himself. She lived in Traverse City under her maiden name, Martha Kell. I called 3 times before she answered. When I said Hannah Marsh, she went quiet. When I said recipe book, she whispered, Who gave it to you? I was hoping you could tell me. She agreed to meet at a diner halfway between Traverse City and the park. Martha was in her late 60s by then, thin, careful, wearing a scarf that was warm outside. She sat facing the door. I had seen enough frightened campers, lost children, and angry husbands to recognize old habits. I slid the cookbook across the table. Her hand went to her mouth. That was Hannah's. You knew. She kept recipes in it, but not only recipes. What else? Martha opened to the pickled tomatoes page and looked at the note about cabin 5. She was helping me leave Alan. The words came out plain. No drama, just a fact that had waited too long. Martha said Alan controlled money, keys, friends, everything that could make a person feel like a person. He did not hit her often enough for people to see a pattern. That was how she said it. Often enough. Hannah noticed because Martha stopped painting and started buying bait for fish she never caught. The jars were messages, Martha said. She turned pages. Extra cinnamon meant Alan would be gone before noon. No salt meant the boat was ready. Apples meant money was hidden. I looked down at the grocery list. Flour, butter, apples, salt. That list was a plan, I said. Martha nodded. Hannah told me to meet her at the pier after midnight. She had money, gas, a room arranged near Mackinac City. What happened? Martha's eyes filled, but she did not cry. I lost my nerve. That was the first twist. Hannah had not gone to the pier by accident. She went there to help Martha escape. Martha told me she hid in cabin 5 while the storm rolled in. She heard Alan's truck leave, then come back, then leave again. She watched from behind the curtain until she saw Hannah walking toward the pier with a yellow raincoat buttoned wrong against the wind. "I should have gone," she said. "You were afraid. I was a coward. I thought of every safety lecture I had ever given. Wear a life jacket. Stay off the pier in storms. Report suspicious activity. Rules sound clean when fear is not in the room. What did Alan know? I asked. Enough. He found one of the jars. Not what it meant, but enough to know Hannah and I were keeping something from him. Did he hurt Hannah? Martha stared into her coffee. I do not know. The next clue came from the recipe book again. Inside the back cover was a pocket made from tape paper. I had missed it because the tape had yellowed to the same color as the page. Inside was a folded hand-drawn map of the North Pier and the marina. 3 X marks. One at Cabin 5, one at the pier, one in an old fish cleaning shed that had been torn down years ago. Beside the shed, Hannah had written, "If not me, Everett." My name again. I asked Martha why Hannah would involve me. She gave a sad little laugh. "Because you were steady." I almost laughed too. I was a park ranger. She said you watch people without making them feel watched. She trusted that. That did not fit the man I remembered being. I had been tired, recently divorced, impatient with anything that smelled like personal trouble. I enforced rules because rules were simpler than people. But Hannah had placed my name on her map. So I went looking for the fish cleaning shed. The shed was gone, but the concrete pad remained under a mat of weeds near the old service road. I found nothing for an hour except bottle caps, rusted hooks, and black flies. Then my boot struck metal. Buried beside the pad was a coffee can wrapped in plastic. Inside was a small jar of coarse salt, a roll of cash tuberose to unfold, and a note. Martha did not come. Keep the salt dry. I sat on the concrete pad with the coffee in between my knees and felt the whole past rearrange itself. Hannah had hidden the emergency money before going to the pier. The salt was not seasoning. It was a signal. I found the final recipe clue that evening, under the page for sour cherry pie. Too much salt ruins everything unless you know why it was added. Under that, in different handwriting. I know why. The pencil marks were newer than Hannah's. Darker, sharper. I showed Troy. "Who had the book after Hannah died?" he asked. That was the right question. Paul at the marina found the answer in her mother's old things. Hannah's belongings had been boxed after the funeral. The recipe book was given to a woman named Celia Brand, who had cleaned cabins at the park that summer. Celia still lived nearby, in a trailer at the edge of a blueberry farm. She answered the door holding pruning shears and did not invite me in. "I wondered when you would show up," she said. "Did you leave this book on my truck?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because Martha came back." That surprised me. "She came to see me last month," Celia said. "Asked if Hannah ever said anything before she died. I told her no. That was a lie." Celia looked past me toward the fields. I was cleaning the restroom by the North Loop that night. Saw Alan come back soaked. He was carrying a jar. "What jar?" "Pickled tomatoes." "Hannah's jar." He threw it in the dumpster and drove off. "Did you tell anyone?" "I told the deputy the next morning. He wrote down that I saw a man with a jar. Then everybody decided Hannah slipped, and that was easier. No corruption, no conspiracy, just a small truth discarded because it did not fit the simple one." Celia went inside and returned with a paper sack. Inside was the jar lid, rusted around the edge. "I took it from the dumpster," she said. "Did not know why, just did." On the inside of the lid, scratched into the metal, were 2 initials, AP, Alan Pierce. It would be easy to tell this next part as if I became a detective. I did not. I made phone calls. I drove too much. I asked old people uncomfortable questions. I learned that memory is like lake water, clear in one place, muddy 2 steps over. Alan Pierce had died the year before in Ohio. Martha had not known. Neither had I. His death removed the fear, but not the question. Had he caused Hannah's death? The answer came from a man named Leonard Sykes, who had rented the cabin beside Alan's that summer. Celia gave me his name, and Troy found him in Indiana. Leonard remembered the storm because his wife lost her glasses in the rain. He also remembered seeing Hannah and Alan on the pier. They were arguing, he told me over the phone. Couldn't hear words. Then she pointed toward the marina, and he walked off. Walked off. Back toward the cabins. Did he push her? No. I watched him leave. That should have ended the darker part of the mystery. Instead, it opened the human part. Leonard said Hannah stayed on the pier after Alan left. She held the jar in both hands, then set it on a bench. A gust came hard across the water. The jar rolled. Hannah reached for it. She slipped, he said. I saw her go down. By the time I got my boots on and ran out, I couldn't see anything but rain. Why didn't you tell anyone? I did. They asked if I saw Alan push her. I said no. After that, nobody cared about the jar. The second twist was quieter than I expected. Alan did not murder Hannah, but he found Martha's signal, taken the jar, and forced Hannah onto that pier in a storm to get it back. Hannah died trying to protect the message, not because Alan pushed her, but because ordinary cruelty had put her in the wrong place at the wrong time. I told Martha in person. She listened with both hands folded around the salt jar from the coffee can. So she died because of me. She said, no, I said, she died because she kept her promise. Martha closed her eyes. That may take me time to believe. I know. We held a small gathering for Hannah in September. Not a funeral. That had happened long before. This was something else. Paula closed the marina for one afternoon. Troy brought folding chairs from the ranger office. Celia came with cherry pie. Martha came last, carrying the old recipe book against her chest like a hymnal. There were 11 of us all together. Enough to feel real, not enough to become a performance. Martha stood by the North Pier, which had been rebuilt with new boards and better railings, and read one recipe aloud. Not the whole thing, just Hannah's note at the bottom. Feed people carefully. You never know who is hungry for a way out. Nobody spoke for a while after that. Then Martha opened the book to a blank page near the back and wrote her own recipe. Tomato soup, simple and plain. Under it, she wrote, use salt when something needs preserving. She handed me the book. I think she wanted you to have it. I shook my head. She wanted me to understand it. That too. Martha smiled then, not brightly, but honestly. She had remarried by then, a widower who grew pears and did not ask where she was every minute. She said happiness felt strange when it arrived without permission. I retired that winter. On my last day, Troy gave me a new ranger hat, even though I told him I had no use for it. Paula gave me a jar of pickled green tomatoes made from Hannah's recipe. Celia gave me the rusted lid in a small frame, which sounds odd unless you know that some objects are ugly only before they tell the truth. The recipe book sits on my kitchen shelf now. Sometimes I open it for no reason and read the notes. Not because I cook much. I still burn toast if left unsupervised. I read it because Hannah Marsh understood something I learned too late. A person can save another person in small, ordinary ways. A jar, a list, a signal, a name written where someone might finally see it. And sometimes, years later, seeing it is the best apology we have.